This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. I represent Bahamian people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Bintan, bro. Where I from Bintan, bro. Right between West and Augusta, where them two roads meet, they call it Wilkinson Street. Manners and respect was like a sign blank check. It seems the ones that coming after quick to disrespect. You see, this life in the ghetto never easy. So many hungry days break till it grieve me. Way I doing the best I can, trying to turn my dollar to 100 grand. I represent the ghetto people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Bintan, bro. Where I from Bintan, bro. Don't take no back talk, no bribe or no joke. If you find fire, you definitely find smoke. Bintan, bro. Where I from Bintan, bro.
Good night, Bahamas, and welcome to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I'm your host, Valentino, aka Scrooge, host of the talk show Inside the Inner City that premieres every Friday at 6:30 to 8 p.m. Telephone numbers tonight are 323-6232, 325-4316, and 325-4259. You can text us, powered by BTC, at 422-GR96. I want to thank all the listeners who listen to Guardian Radio and also who tune into Inside the Inner City. And it's a pleasure to all the callers and who call in as well, who give us a wonderful conversation. Today's topic, we have so much to talk about and see what we can cover. But, we like to talk about some of the topics that have been happening around the country. We like talking about the government of the Bahamas is saying they have a new agenda. Government pledges reforms in immigration, healthcare, technology, and housing. That's a new agenda going into this term. Remember, they promised to deal with the immigration as far as anyone who in government departments who is involved with fraudulent documents, whether it's national insurance, passport fraud, or whatever kind of fraud it is, the government has made it their agenda to reform that part of, they plan to reform in order to deal with a lot of the corruption, we call it white-collar crimes that goes on in the country. They were denying it, that's what government do. They're never going to admit when there's a problem. They slowly did admit it after pressure from the opposition. But at the same time, they're working in that direction to see how they can deal with this corruption. Then we have an international model concerning one BM National who was rescued a few days ago, and then he himself was held in custody after probably investigation was done, and he himself was a wanted person by the U.S. State Department. And he was supposed to appear in court, I think, Thursday of yesterday, and he was not. He was supposed to appear in the New York District Court. They say it's a 98 chance of, they say it's 98% of you, they say it's 2% chance of you winning your case in the New York District Court. That means they're saying that 98 times the district attorney in New York will win the case, and you have a 2% chance of winning your case. So that means you have 2%. You could have the best lawyers, et cetera, et cetera. That means you still have no chance of winning the case. That means they do all investigation, from years back. They have their informants put in place. They have pictures, their recordings. They have drug money that was confiscated. They have poisons. A whole list of evidence they gather before they go after any type of individual who is on the wanted list of the U.S. federal government. They want to make sure that when they get you, that the district attorney, like the attorney general's office, once they gather the information, they carry it to the district attorney office. If the district attorney say, you know what, there's something here that we can't hold this guy on, I don't think this is enough for us to get a sentence, you need to go back and do some proper research and see if you can get this clear up here. That's what he does. So anything that's presented to the district attorney is basically 100% evidence. Your chances of walking out are unlikely. So with that in mind, curiously, this was a discussion around the streets. With that in mind, people were saying, that he didn't appear because now he isn't getting the phase of a plea agreement. And I guess he is getting ready to talk on some individuals. I don't know if politicians, I don't know if it's the police, but we all know it's some way type of connection that was been going on for a very, very long time. We've been heard, we're listening to the radio and the news, and you're hearing that this event happened in the House of Parliament. It's a really, really serious thing going on in our country. What I'd just like to say before I continue this conversation, and I want to play a clip. I'd just like to say that I, as an individual who come from a background of what you call being a so-called gangster, all right? And, there was so much emphasis put on the guys on the streets, the killers and the rapists. Now, emphasis needed to put on the killers and rapists and the gangsters as well. Don't get me wrong, right? But the emphasis was all on that. This country was hard against those individuals, including myself and thousands of others who just didn't have the right resources to make their lives better and to make the right choices. The community was not providing like community centers and scholarships and etc. But the schools are, but most kids, wouldn't finish 12th grade or even 10th grade, because life's so hard, they just, want to go over there and make a quick couple dollars, so they drop out of school and try their own thing, But what I'm trying to say is, when we take a look at this, right, and the effect, see, I is one who don't like to just say what's going on in our country, as a Bahamian in our departments, whether it's immigration, customs, police department, politics. I know that we all Bahamians, and it's a blind eye to us, and I take no satisfaction in saying this good for somebody or this good for the government or this good for this person. Some people deserve it, some people do not, but it's not my way of life to, pass judgment on individuals, because, we all humans, we make mistakes. But the point I'm trying to make is this. The effect, I always say that this is my analysis, right? So why the country is not in such an uproar, and no one is really reflecting the damage that been happening in front of our eyes. That's what I'm trying to explain. Okay, based on what we've been hearing on that information, especially with the U.S., yes, this. We have the U.S. government, federal government, FBI, Tobacco and Firearms Unit. They have been doing sting operation in the country for many, many years. But recently, they have been involved in a lot of major busts across the country. You look on the news. And what you're seeing is a joint effort. You're seeing airports, that were controlled by senior police officials, and I don't like to point the finger, at the police, just that it is what it is, and we need to get a clear understanding on how it affects us, our citizens in the country. So, a lot of busts been going around with the U.S. and the Bahamas government working together with the U.S. with intelligence, and they've had major busts on many different major airports. We've had a few incidents happen at our airport, especially when it comes to drug-related matters. We have had officers sentenced, 2 others questioned, people sentenced, and it's a drug ring. And people who were spared in were officers. right? Now, these officers was connected to somebody, and this somebody was connected to somebody based on what we see in as a country, right? So here's the thing now. How does this affect? Let's look at the bigger picture. You know, I've always been saying this. Guns are not made in the Bahamas. Cocaine is not made in the Bahamas. Few people grow marijuana in the Bahamas. But other than that, the majority of marijuana is shipped in. The majority of cocaine is shipped in. The majority of the guns are not manufactured here, but they're built in the U.S. They're built in places like Israel and places like that. And these guns end up in the streets of Nassau, Providence. Now, I was saying to myself, in my time, I say, why all these big, high-powered artillery, AK-47s all around Nassau? All these handguns and stuff like this. Man, it was crazy, man, because everywhere I turned, there were so many young guys stand up with their gun, and I talking with big assault rifles and stuff like that. So I say, what's going on here, man? It's just too much. Then, you listen to some of them talks, and they're saying they have a connection this way, right? So you wonder why all this killing, retaliation, killing. Then you see some incidents where we know some guys did some murder, but then, you see them back on the road, and we wonder why people, going to jail for murder, and we wondering why they coming out before 2 years. And, we as honest as behaving people, saying that, a lot of guys just go into jail, killing people, and then they're going to go to jail, and then they're going to be right back on the streets. So us as a country started to see that. So when you wondering why all this happened, how these guys get back on the road, some of them have been in their cases, then we saw the thing ran down, ran on the Facebook, where a former senior officer who was in discussion, alleged discussion, and he was discussing to the senior officer how he could pay a few dollars to get a certain charge drop off him, you know what I mean? And this real life, And all of us in the Bahamas heard this, So we have a senior police officer who supposed to be protecting and serving and getting the bad guys off the streets, but instead he is actually facilitating, and you never know the partnership and the connection and the friendship and business arrangements these individuals could have for these particular officers around Nassau and Providence. Because when I look at it, I say, man, there's too much guns around the country and like that, and certain guys getting locked up, and then, they right back out, and, so something ain't adding up. So come to find out now that this big string of network was run by officials in our government, Defense Force, our department, the Royal Bahamas Department. It could be politicians, and there could be some other people involved, because after this guy, I guess, he goes back to God, I think we'd be having some indictments coming over here in the country, Man, it's just, it's just crazy. So all these guns and all these drugs on the streets, and you come to find out now they're coming from the top. Because you know what it is to be running the airport? You know what it's to be in charge of an airport? You know what it's for officers to be in charge of an airport? How many tons of marijuana or cocaine and firearms are being distributed? Because everyone is getting their cut, So when that reach, someone is getting their cut. Everyone getting their cut. Get a couple of keys. You can get paid money, but then there's other agreements. You get a couple of keys. You might get a couple of these guns. So now everyone get people. So now the same officers, they have guys who they locked up on the streets, guys who's drug peddlers and stuff like that. Now they're supposed to be protecting and serving. That's why I say the consequences of these things are so serious and so damaging to the country that we don't even know what we do. We open a can of soup that we may never, ever be able to recover from when it comes to this aspect of how I'm going to explain it here tonight. So now these officers, them doing their illegal. They got the airport. They get our airports. They control. The U.S. is watching, but we got jurisdiction, so we get these officers who are either ASP, and they control the whole family island. Not only the airport, they control the whole family island. They control the ports. They control everything, because once you go over there, you're a senior cop. The only person you got to report to is the commissioner or the assistant commissioner of police. So now you're over there, you just like the commissioner of police. You running your own operation of illegal narcotics and drugs, which you're supposed to be protecting and serving. Now, when you get your cut, you're going to go back in the community or someone you locked up, who was selling their little drugs, selling their half bag or selling cocaine, and you're going to approach them or they're going to approach you. You say, man, look, I get something for you to do. I get some stuff coming. Go around there and go do that. And if anyone bother with you, I get you. If anyone police come and bother with you, I could deal with them. You get some guys who playing around or your rivalry, we can work that out. So we've seen a lot of tit for tats around the country with a lot of shootings and gang-related incidents, and and come to find out, it's the people responsible are the people at the very top. That's how serious this situation is. So we've had our law enforcement agencies been putting, and could be politicians, we don't know who, putting firearms, dangerous drugs, illegal money on the streets, also helping out persons who do serious crimes get free if they give them a couple of dollars or you connect it to me, right? How many persons' lives are being lost in this country? How many persons are sitting in jail, probably get charged for something they didn't even do? How many people's lives are being hurt, mothers out there, because of this smuggling enterprise that some of our senior officers, whether the defense force, whether the police, have been participating in? How many lives, how many people are being hurt, being killed, being jailed, and there was no proper investigation going on? And it seems that by this going on, everything was getting, how I should say it, everything was getting slapped under the rug. That means you could do this crime, but we let you get away with it if you connected us or if you give us a couple of dollars. And that's what was going on. So we had a lot of people going to CID who are murderers, drug dealers who probably get catch with drugs. And if you give me something, I ain't gonna let you get locked up. Or if you work with me, and when they bring you these drugs, you're getting a certain percentage, you get protection. If you get any problem and you lock up, I get it. And that's what was going on, and it was going on all around in different parts of the country. And everyone who was picking up off this, and every officer who was a part of this, they had their own clique. So this is a protection ring. So we see why people are so bold and shooting people and killing people in the road, and and I ain't watching no face and all this stuff. But check it out now. Why it's so calm in the country? Why we ain't hearing so much AK-47? Why we ain't seeing so much murders? There are murders happening, right? But why it slowed down so tremendously? You ain't hardly hearing no gunshot every day. You ain't hardly hearing about all these guns getting fined like I was getting fined like 3 years ago, all around the time. It's because the connection has been severed with the U.S. and the Bahamas government trying their best to deal with this illegal narcotics and the corruption. So in doing so, they hit the major players around the country, because the people were people in high places. So they get exposed. They were doing things in the dark. That's why it was so rampant, so bold, Walking through the airport, you're seeing the photos of an officer walking through the airport with illegal drugs, and he's supposed to be protecting the servant, and he's supposed to be running the airport. So for how long and how many people they're connected to? How have they hurt? Cost their lives? You can't imagine the damage that has been done. But look, it's impossible for everything to just be slowing down. You can't only, guys, there's still high-powered weapons around the country, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying around that period, man, if something wasn't right. A guy off the streets who hang with the streets and stuff like that, I tell you, I was walking around and everywhere I stopped, I saw guys, them, with all type of heavy artillery. So it was crazy, So that's the fact, what it has done to our country. And we don't look at it like that. Our government don't look at it like that. But I can analyze it because I know the impact of people to the top doing and distributing it to the streets, onto at-risk young boys, young men who don't fully understand the natural balance of life, with those gifts, of guns and drugs and stuff like that. And you get free pass because, you know this officer and you're working for this officer, right? I don't know who officer or what officer. I'm only reading with the newspaper, and I'm just using my inner city where I grew up and how things run from top to bottom. If this the case, and we read the newspaper, that's how it goes. It ends in the hands of young guys who kill up one another, sell the drugs, destroy the nation. They have protection. So anytime they have a dispute, they would be more, they'd be more bolder because, you have a connection, and that's how serious it is, We destroyed, our government's destroyed, our department destroyed thousands of people. Because like I said, you never know how long these things were going on at this airport. It did not have been going on, it could have been going on under this administration, under the Free National Movement government, and the government before that, and the government before that, because this just don't happen overnight, okay? It just got bold, and if it didn't get exposed by the U.S. government, we would have seen more murders in this country. So I guess with that, and knocking out, busing a lot of the airports, a lot of the drug shipments coming in, that has lowered the murder rate and the crime rate in the country, because the guns ain't reaching the individuals no more, because most of them are dead. Who isn't dead, their connection is cut. They can't have the connection no more because the connection is not there. The connection is either in jail or trying to avoid the authorities because the name is calling, so they're trying to clean up their act. So everything has gone sour. They was enjoying themselves, now everything has gone sour. Like I said, I'm not taking shot at the individual, I'm just saying this is how it goes. So many people's lives are being hurt from what you see in the newspaper every day when it concerns drugs, smuggling of firearm in the country. It has basically has a serious impact. It affected so many young men and females around the country. So many young men have lost their lives just because of this transaction, corruption that was going on in our government, our departments, whether it's the police force, defense force. If you look at the customs department, you'd see in the newspaper where a female custom officer who's a senior custom officer. Custom officer was doing business on behalf of the Bahamas government, is alleged. And she, in turn, was running her own operation. She was having money sent directly to her own personal account. So it's all across the board in our government departments, all across, all across. And we need to really have a reform. I don't know what we're going to do, but all I can know is we're in trouble. If you look at our fishing industry, you would see that our waters are being depleted, with poison from the Dominican Republic coming here, getting married, then they use their expertise from the Dominican Republic to come in our waters, and when they come in our waters, because they get their marriage license, they get their boat license, you got to blame the government for this, you got to blame the person who married the Dominican just for money and destroying the country. When those Dominicans come down here in the Bahamas waters, they go in the water, they put the lights down there, they have divers down there, they go in a specific location where there's a conch bed, and if there's a couple thousand conch there, they'd spend a day there, 2 days there, and when they finish, there wouldn't be a conch left there. They don't care how big the conch is. They leave some, but they leave that area depleted. The fishing, the same thing. They go, they spear fishing or they net fishing in the Bahamian waters, they take it in abundance. Okay, so definitely we destroying ourselves all around here. And we ain't even seeing it. We destroying our fishing industry, we destroying our integrity when it comes to our safeguards with our defense force officers, our police force officers and stuff like that. Our healthcare is in crisis. Man, we can't win the lose. I swear. We just can't win the lose. There's so much things going bad for the Bahamas. And that's because, God is leaving the Bahamas because, we destroying one another. The police is Bahamian. The immigration department is Bahamians. We are Bahamians. And look what we're doing. We are so corrupt. And we just can't see it. Let me play the clip. You can play my voice clip. Talk too much just now. We destroying ourselves.
Survivor was arrested and found in possession of $30,000 in cash after he and 10 other passengers were rescued in waters off Florida. Former Cabinet Minister Shivargo Lang questioned why such a large amount of money was being transported on Election Day, where it came from, and what it was being used for.
On our election day, No, I promise not to work myself. On our election day, we're trying to choose the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. An airplane was chartered. And on that airplane was a bag full of cash, $30,000. Was it coming from a bank? Was it being escorted by an armored truck? $30,000 in the possession of someone who is alleged by the United States of America to have been caught up in narcotic trading. Someone chartered that flight.
A photo of evidence from the crash showed cash inside a bag marked with a name that was redacted and labeled Politician 1. The crash survivor, Jonathan Gardner, was previously convicted in Florida in 2006 and sentenced to 220 months in prison for federal narcotics and money laundering offenses. He was deported to the Bahamas in 2014. He's now charged with conspiracy to import cocaine. Lang said he's angry that people are so calm about the matter.
I'm angry more so because we're so calm about this nonsense, man. $30,000 in cash flying around on election day? For what? What you buying, barbecue? What you paying for? More shirts? Ain't nobody was wearing shirts on election day. What you paying for? What is it who is it going to? Who is it coming from? What is it going? Why is it going to? Who is going to? From who it's going to? And now all of this has us embroiled in another international set of scandals. And we're just so easy, so calm about it. It's it's just another day in paradise.
The former member of parliament said that while many are focused on the identity of Politician 1, there appears to be such little outrage over a large amount of money being found in a bag labeled with a politician's name on a day when thousands of Bahamians were casting their ballots in a general election.
Does anybody hear me? $30,000 in cash was being flown around. Was that the only aircraft with cash on it? This one happened to crash. Why was $30,000 being flown around on election day? What you paying for on election day? Huh? What is being paid for on election day? By election day, your campaign is done and finished. People going to vote.
Lang, who made the comments on his Guardian radio talk show Z Live, suggested the incident has cast a dark shadow over the recent election.
And we got to sit up like we are a country of integrity, like we are a country that has no issues related to how we conduct our elections. And we are playing with $30,000 in cash with a politician's name on it on election day. Seriously? And all we do is we have these mild little echoes of sentiments about it. Really? That doesn't cast a dark net on all that happened in this election Tuesday gone? It did not? Because we think that's the only cat that was flying around on election day? We really believe that?
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Vonnie Toot.
Like I said, the effects of it, what I want people to get to understand. So a lot of your sons and daughters out there and a lot of people who are getting killed out there and stuff like that with the firearms, you could say some type of connection can be tied to that ring that was here in the country because, like I say, drugs sell around the country. You don't sell in one spot. It has to be distributed. Guns has to be distributed in Baytown, has to be distributed in Camp Road, has to be distributed Fort Charlotte, has to be facilitated Fox Hill, because that's just how it works, because people are going to buy from this way, people are going to buy from this way. You have guys who selling drugs this way. You have guys who selling drugs in the east. You have guys who selling drugs in the west. Same thing at Bain and Grandstand. You have these things. So these guns sometimes end up in the hands of guys who are leading their street or their corner, and they have these connections with these individuals who they know can make this money. And these persons don't care. They just come, bring this drugs, bring this guns, and this young individual has his crew. And when there's a dispute with all the rivalry, guns are used. But it comes from the very top because guns are not made, And that's like a free pass. The airports are the first line of defense. The airport's supposed to be the first place that inspects and stops the trafficking of narcotics and firearms. But look what it was doing. It was allowing the airport and the police who was in charge at that particular time were allowing the drugs and the firearms to come in the country and be distributed to citizens. Now, here's the funny part of it. Some of these officers, they stated that used to go, the same officers who are alleged involved in these illegal activity, right? They were the same officers who will go in the inner city community and go around and harass young guys who have a little pound or 2 pound of weed, right? And make it look so good. Lock these guys, in some cases, shoot people, right? And take them before the court. And they say they get so much dangerous drugs off the street, and there's individual this and that. But what about you guys who running tons? There's no comparison to the guys on the streets, right? To compare to running an airport and running a major operation with bringing in cocaine and firearms, okay? There's no better ring. What surprises me is our law enforcement agencies over here, they're highly capable, right? They could find all the guys who are selling drugs on the streets, right? But how it is, they ain't find nothing concerning these officers until the U.S. interfered. That means they might have known about the information, but they're turning a blind eye to it. But at the same time, you're saying crime is high. When, if you really look at it, you guys are basically responsible for crime being high. So all that $1 million you all invested in cars and trucks and all that stuff, that was a bunch of sham. Because y'all was not getting the right set of poisons. Y'all were getting some of the drugs and some of the guns, but y'all was getting afterwards distributors, the poisons in the inner city community and around the country. You know, and y'all locked them up. Like some decent police on patrol would go and see something suspicious and they would catch the poison with the gun. That gun come with that clash up there. That clash of guns that were put, but that came through the airport, that's them same guns. And they get distributed. So it's crazy, you know? And I hear also Agaline saying that, you know, we so calm about it. That's why I could agree with him. The impact of those allegations, right? It's too hard just to take it so lightly because it affected all of us, you know? And like I said, these are the same officers who would go and lock a guy up for a half bite. Wouldn't even give him a break. But you yourself involved in smuggling drugs and firearm. And then you're all on the news. And then you get people chirping, but known to the police. And that time, you guys are working directly with these guys, protecting some of these guys, making these guys feel like they invincible, you know, killing people, children, because they have a connection. Man, it's crazy, man. You know, it's crazy. And like I say, I talk about overfishing, you know. We messing up all across all fronts. We messing up on all fronts. You hear me? All fronts we messing up on. Even our fishing industry. Customs. Immigration. The police department. Defense force. What else? The church. What else? Where else we going wrong? Huh? God ain't happy at us at all. That's why everyone said the bomb is finished. Immigration. You know? How we can fix all these things? Man, we have these things going on in our institute, and no one is directly addressing it. You know? No, I saw the Honorable Wayne Monroe. You know, MP no more. He's a senator now. He is the Attorney General. And he was responding to, you know, and what surprises me, you know, he's a highly intelligent man, you know, he's a criminal lawyer, he's one of the top-notch criminal lawyers in the country, so he defended guys who was involved in illegal activities and won most of their cases. And, you know, he's a government official, so he's never going to say nothing against the government. He would always have something to say, you know. His response to Gardner and all that, and, I mean, the politician, which is all connected, coming from the information we're receiving, I think he stated that, you know, there's corruption everywhere in every country, you know, and that we, you know, if you break the law, you're not above the law. Well, what you mean they're not above the law? I thought we have the Royal Bahamas Police Force, right, who has an intelligence, and does intelligence on illegal activity in the country. But none of the intelligence that you as a Minister of National Security could add up, and you can tell us about these things, about Gardner. I ain't never heard nothing about no Gardner. I've never heard nothing about all these other guys or many of them unless there was a drug bust happening once the U.S. was involved. That's the only way we get to know. So with all that intelligence you got, you ain't doing no investigation within own policing system that you couldn't identify some of these road cops who has given a black eye to the decent officers who are working right now, doing their job professionally. But we have a group and plenty, who were involved in illegal activities in the country and giving the country a blind eye. It's crazy, man. That's crazy. Someone sent a message saying, good afternoon. I agree with most of your points, but we should also give credit to the many hardworking officers. I do. I just want you to know I have cousins who are on the Royal Bahamas Police Force, you understand, who I highly respect. You get a lot of decent police officers who are on the force. And we're not taking that or knocking that. There are a lot of decent police officers on the force. But if we don't put checks and balances in places, do not let officers run those family islands unless they have a superior officer who could come and check and make sure that things are up to standard. You're doing background check on the airport to see what's going on at the airport. You just can't leave officers to run these institute knowing that they could themselves be tested. Have checks and balances put in place. And I guess these are some of the things that the government is trying to do with their new agenda plan. Let me finish reading with the text. Okay, let me read it again. Good afternoon. I agree with most of your points, but we should also give credit to the many hardworking officers helping reduce crime. And I do. And to all the decent officers out there who are doing their job, I just want you to know this, what I'm saying now is not towards you guys. These are some of your colleagues who went against the Constitution, went against the Bahamas. We're not all perfect in life, We all make mistakes, but some mistakes, we should not be involved with because it affects others, And when you give an oath, and when you give an oath to protect and serve, and then you violate that, it changes everything. You go against what you swore to protect, and now you yourself, you know what you become? You become what you swore to protect. You become the criminal. The officers themselves become the criminal, but they were not acting like it. Like I tell you, they were locking up people, children out there, carrying dead by a little pound, 2 pound, a little joint, and they making it seem like these individuals are the voice of the voice. That time they running loads. So I don't never hear nothing but no gangs in this country ever again. I'm never ever going to talk about gangs ever again, based on all this information that is being gathered. There are bigger gangs out there. They are a gang in the police force. They're a gang in the defense force. They might be a gang of politicians, and they have their own gang of things what they're doing right now. And the guys on the streets, I would say to you guys, you all thought y'all was bad. Listen, I can always tell you this, retire. Y'all ain't saying nothing. You are people in high places who are making millions. Why is you guys on the street making pennies and going to jail for 4 or 5 years? Well, these individuals being running load, they were protected, they were police officers, and they some of them made millions. You never know. And they never get catched. They were protected until recently. But there are still officers out there who are involved, and they're trying to clean up now. And that's the bottom line. But like I say, the effect of it, because like I say, it has to be distributed. You can't be involved in smuggling drugs in the country unless it's distributed. And to distribute it, it has to go around to different communities. And to go around in different communities, where guns go and drugs go, there will be loss of life. So who's responsible? It's the one who controls the airport. It's like we're saying, give a guy lifetime for a firearm that you find him on the street for. Now, he ain't in America for it, but he bought it from somebody. That person bought it from somebody who somebody brought in the country from the airport. So why not give the person who in charge of the airport lifetime in prison instead of giving a guy on the streets lifetime for a firearm, which I'd say he should get lifetime too, but I'm just making a point. Yeah. And the person said, hard-working officers helping reduce crime. If we are blamed when crime rises, it's only fair we are acknowledged when crime falls. That's true. And I completely agree. But I'm saying to you, so why crime falls is because nowadays distribution and these access points, they are ports, they're airports. So when you run the airport, you allow certain things to come and no one's going to question you. You have full authority. So what goes on there, me and you can't never give a account, but I know what goes on to the airport. All right? A lot of traffic. Okay? We have a next clip, right? That's the only one there, right? Yeah. So let me go through this. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about a new agenda. So now, in the Nassau Guardian, a new agenda. Government pledges reform in immigration, healthcare, and technology and housing. Davis administration make fresh promise on independent investigation commission. Let me just read you it quick. Although it failed to do so in its first term, the Davis administration has pledged to fully implement the Freedom of Information Act and to set up the promised Independent Commission of Investigation. Yeah, see, that's what we need. We need persons to be able to investigate customs, immigration, the police department, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, and Parliament. I don't know if we're going to extend the Parliament, because when you listen to the swearing in, you would see that Parliament is protected. Let me explain something to the general public. Listen to the swearing when they say he will not talk about things discussed in Parliament. Okay? They are protected. All right? They're protected by the contract they sign. And there's no police that can question a sitting politician when it comes to matters to discuss in the House of Assembly besides criminal matters. But if anything to deal with heads of agreement, no police, I think, can question a sitting politician based on the contract he signed with the British administration and then the Bahamas administration. Okay, there's two administrations, because they swore to the king, then they swear to the Bahamas. But the first one they swear to is the king, and then he or her successor, means her children. That's who we swear to, right? And then we swear secondly to the Bahamas, okay? And then when we also swear that things discussed in Parliament means that if you are a member of Parliament and there's some type of allegation going on out there, the politician, once he's a part of that organization, he signs a contract with the government, right? He signs it with the government. Listen, y'all listen to the swearing, man. You got to listen when they swear. And that's why I can say what they saying. And that protects them, so there's no police that question them. Can't do nothing. That's why politicians are over police, okay? That's why they appoint the commissioner of police, okay? That's why they appoint the prison superintendent or commissioner of the Correction Institute. Same thing with the Defense Force. Same thing with the Chief Justice. Same thing with the Supreme Court judge. You understand? That's how it goes. So let me read. And to set up the promised independent commission. See, we need to have people who are independent, beyond government, who their job is just to protect the integrity of the Bahamas. Their job is to find what is going on in departments, investigate it, and they have the power once they do a full investigation, they could bring you up on charges. Now, for me as a Bahamian, I don't think we should be persecuting ourselves, but what I'm saying is, I don't like it. But it has to be done. I think if we was a decent nation, we don't need no independent commission if we were decent people. You understand? Where we know right from wrong and stick the right with right, and we stick and we go against what's wrong. You understand? But if we have a system in place protecting persons in high places in the country, then we're going to keep on getting corrupt. And it's going to get worse and worse. So these measures are very, very, very good. You know. Okay, let me come right now, call The promise were contained in the speech from the throne, which was read yesterday by Governor General Cynthia Mother-Pratt during a special ceremony at the Lions Resort on Paradise Island. I'm going to go to page 5. I can let us call her. And let you come in. Good night, caller. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, you, sir.
Yeah, I was just listening to you. A lot of people think that when they swear these oaths, right? You know, the King of England now, he really have no authority over the Bahamas. You know, those things are basically just ceremonial stuff.
Okay.
That we adopt from the British. Now, the Bahamas is a sovereign nation because anybody who ever read the Constitution, if they see the first article in the Constitution, you know what it says?
Go ahead, sir.
You know what Article 1 in the Constitution says?
Go ahead, sir.
That the Bahamas is a sovereign nation, shall be a sovereign nation. Okay? All of those stuff is just ceremonial things with the king, when they swear into the king and all of that. The king and Queen Elizabeth, before she died, she had no sway on what takes place in the Bahamas. Our parliament is sovereign, meaning that whatever laws they want pass, they could pass.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Okay? But a lot of people feel like because they swear in, doing these swearing ceremonies to the king, or when it was Elizabeth time, to her, that she has some sway over the Bahamas. The Commonwealth of the Bahamas shall be a sovereign democratic state. That's the first article in our Constitution. So a lot of people have never read the Constitution. Even many of those who we elect to go to Parliament have never read it. We just call members of Parliament honorable. You know what the Constitution say they should be known as?
Go ahead, I know.
Just members of
Parliament, yes.
Okay? Now, the honorable thing comes from them sitting in the House.
Yes, and
they
doing
refer
good.
to one another as honorable members.
Yes.
But we subscribe that to them when they outside of Parliament. You see?
Yes,
so
sir.
The Constitution said the parliamentarians should be known as members of Parliament. That's what the Constitution says.
Yes, sir.
And another thing, with the corruption and all of this stuff.
Go ahead, sir.
The Bahamas ain't no different from no other country in the world.
No, we ain't.
The United States right now, look at the President of the United States and all the alleged allegations against him. Hello?
Go ahead, I'm listening, sir.
Yeah, all alleged allegations against him, right?
Yes, sir.
Even members of the police forces in the United States, right in South Florida, almost every week, they charge some police officer with some crime.
Yes, sir.
And right in South Florida, next to us.
Yes, sir.
When the drugs pass through our country, they learning with some American can be the person who get into. Some American can be the person who can buy it. Some American can be the person who can use it.
Yes.
You never see the Americans telling in a big manner, trying to tell their people to stay off these drugs. Even so, to the point where one time ago they used to run Say No to Drugs.
Yes,
that was Nancy Reagan, Ronald Reagan's wife. I think that's the campaign which she started. You don't hardly see that now on American television advertising for them to tell their people to stay off of drugs. If American didn't have the appetite for the drugs, if you don't have nobody to sell, that's why businesses go to a business. If people, want your service or the goods you sell it, you just go to business.
Yes, sir.
So if the people in the United States don't want the drug traffickers will go to business.
Yes.
And unfortunately, from human existence, evil has been in the world.
Yes, sir.
We can't get rid of evil.
No.
But what we need to do is more of us need to try obey the laws.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
You let none of the politicians ever get up at a rally and say, if you involve in criminal activity, you sell drugs, if you don't pay your custom duty, I don't want you to work for me. You have any politicians there?
No.
Okay? So we like to point fingers, like everybody will know who the so-called politician is, who the American
I don't care. I don't care.
Me personally, I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care. If they have the evidence, when they're ready, they will indict that person, and that person will be the one who has to go before the court in the United States. But of course, they have to go through extradition procedures here in the Bahamas first before they go to the United States, unless they voluntarily go. So whoever the politician is, if they have the evidence, and having being charged with a crime doesn't mean that you commit the crime.
Yeah, I know.
Because the person who's doing the charging have to prove. That's why people don't even have to testify at their own trial. Because the onus on the person who bringing the charges, that's the state.
Prosecution.
Which is the prosecution have to prove. Okay? Have to prove. So, and a lot of our people, we want to celebrate people's downfall. Because everybody, a lot of people who are here, they will know who the politician is, they could gloat.
That's why I was saying that I don't like it, but I know it has to be done. It has to be done, but I don't want.
Right. So they could gloat.
Yes.
So they could gloat.
We all be image, you know.
We saying why they don't tell our government. They doing an investigation. The United States, they have plenty law enforcement agencies in the United States outside the federal government. When the feds investigating people in other states, plenty time they don't tell the local police who they're investigating.
No.
Okay? Because that's how they do their business.
Yes.
I heard a gentleman this morning on the early morning show.
Dwight Scrooge.
Yeah, on early show. But why the newspapers or the government don't, through a freedom of information request, try to find out who the person is. You can't get through no freedom of information request ongoing federal investigation.
No.
Information.
You see, we couldn't even get the Consul General.
Epstein. They had to pass a special law in Congress to get them to release the Jeffrey Epstein files and all the grand jury testimony because they don't make those things public for a reason. If your name is called in an indictment and they have your name redacted out or David Scotch out, that means at the point in time, they ain't got sufficient evidence to charge you. So if they had sufficient evidence to charge the person, keep in mind, they said it's the same person who didn't get called from 2024.
That's right. They were still investigating.
So that's the whole 2 years.
Yes.
Right? So they ain't, as far as they're concerned, they might not have sufficient
I was saying
evidence.
a little earlier.
That's probably why they try to set them up by having the person come and meet them in the Bahamas to record them.
In the House of Parliament.
In the House of Parliament.
Yes.
You see? Now that person who, if that allegedly happened, because their allegation wasn't being tested in the court, they're just allegations. And we had 2 sitting members of Parliament in the last term who was charged in our courts for crimes.
Yes. One rape.
One is case and one case still going on.
Yes.
How many people marched on down? They could tell them come with the Parliament.
Nobody.
Nobody.
No.
Nobody from the PLP.
And they
demanded that Adrian Gibson come with the Parliament. Nobody from the FNM demanded that Chris Cornish come with the Parliament.
You're right.
But hypocrisy is the biggest thing killing us as humans.
So what you're saying, right? Let me just ask you a question. So what you're saying now, these guys were involved in illegal activity and they got charged before the court, and yet still they had no one from the party saying that they did something wrong or speak against what was going on with either one of these gentlemen from the Free National Movement or from the PFP. So it means to me that, go ahead.
And ain't nobody demanded. They had no protest down to demand that they come with the Parliament, that they resign their seats in Parliament.
So
that's why you are innocent until proven guilty.
That's true.
If everybody was to resign their position just because of allegation,
I agree.
We would have a functioning country.
Yes.
Because you could imagine somebody come and accuse you of sexual harassment on the job and use the boss. And just because that person claimed that you sexually harassed them, automatically you have to resign.
Okay.
To carry out an investigation to see if the allegations, as far as they're concerned, meet the standard that they set for their organization.
Okay. Let me ask you the next question. I got you 2 more questions. When you spoke earlier and you said that, we all corrupt and, in every part of our government, what you think is the effect of senior officers, right? Like you said, corrupt, but they are running key strategic points in the country. And over the investigation, you talk about the U.S. and, we had an officer charged, and then he's convicted during 4 years, and then the next one is still also looking to get some time. Do you believe, what do you think is the outcome of officers who were involved in illegal activity, alleged, and in some cases not alleged because they got convicted, and they were in the act of supplying drugs and firearms across the country for a long period of time? What do you think about that?
Well, like if they get charged and placed before the court, and the evidence presented in the court was sufficient for them to get convicted, then they should face the maximum sentence that particular crime carries. And we have a law too, where the proceeds of crime, where they're supposed to confiscate or they can confiscate your assets that they perceive through the courts that you got from the proceeds of the criminal activity that you was convicted of.
They bring the for some.
I don't know how many people they place before the court, especially police officers and law enforcement officers. How many of them they went after for their assets because they might have obtained it through illegal activity.
Right, and you saw the customer.
Especially after they get convicted.
Yes.
Right? We have plenty of laws on our books that sometimes I ain't sure if the enforcement is consistent.
Yeah, it can't be
That's
consistent. It can't be consistent because you gave
we
a good.
have a lot of laws on our books that are not enforced consistently.
See,
Even just driving on the streets in New Providence and the rest of the Bahamas,
Yes, sir.
the laws are not enforced consistently because the police can't be everywhere.
That's right. That's right.
And that's one of our problems too. More of us need to decide that we can be law-abiding citizens.
Right.
Simple as when we go to the States or when we travel, and on our custom declaration, many of us don't declare everything that we purchase to bring back to the Bahamas.
Yeah. So even us,
But a lot of people don't think that's a grind.
all of us, even we corrupt. Yeah, even we corrupt.
Yeah, see. So when people like to point fingers at others,
I see what you're
look
saying.
in the mirror first.
We have some
But that
petty.
doesn't
Yes.
mean
We have some
that
petty
I
corruption. What do we do?
condone-
Yes.
that doesn't mean I condone criminal activity.
Yes. Yes.
So whoever is found doing criminal activity and the police has sufficient evidence to place you before the court, they should be placed before the court.
Right. And
So-
what do you think about the impact of those officers distributing those firearms and drugs on the streets in Nassau? Do you think it impacted the crime, the rise in crime, or decrease in crime?
Well, we see it. Over the years, you've seen the increase in criminal activity, the shootings, the murders, the armed robberies, the home invasion, and all those type stuff. We've seen what criminal minds. It's criminal mind. If you have a criminal mind, don't care what law they put in place, because laws don't stop people from committing crime.
No.
Okay, we are hanging on.
Yes.
Hanging as part of our law from I know myself.
And in Annapolis.
And that haven't stopped people from killing an ex-human being.
No.
It all starts in the mind.
Yes.
If you have to be transformed by the renewing of your mind,
That's true.
that's what the Bible says.
Yes,
if
sir.
you don't renew your mind from criminal activity or any type of wrongdoing, don't care much laws, don't care much who we put in parliament, it ain't gonna change.
No.
Because humans could be humans.
Yes, that's true. We only could
Because humans
try.
could be humans.
We only could try to be a little perfect. Like
Right.
doing more
But
good than
The
wrong.
problem is too, is that it takes too long to bring people to trial.
It's because
in the Bahamas.
you give a reference. I have a next caller, but I'd like to let you finish off right now. Let me just say this. When you talk earlier, you talk about you feel that the both sides don't push the issue when it comes to members of parliament who are part of their party who charged with rape, who charged with using government public funds to buy SD and etc. and give out contracts and stuff like that.
But the only difference between the FNM and the PLP is the PLP had the opportunity to govern the country first, and they did some things they wasn't supposed to do.
Yes.
When the FNM became the government, even under Mr. Ingram, a lot of them did things they wasn't supposed to do either. That's my view.
Okay.
Because you remember when they had the leadership election in 2001 with Tommy Tanquist and Dion Folk.
Yes.
Tennyson Wellston made allegations against them that they gave delegates government contracts and things who was going to vote in that leadership election.
Yeah.
Okay? So the only difference is that the PLP had the chance to govern the country first,
Yeah.
and they did some things they wasn't supposed to do.
Yes.
Ain't nothing much change. Election is about who can get the contracts, the jobs.
That's true.
That's what it's all about.
That's
That's why people must be
Fight,
fighting for their party
yes,
so hard,
yes.
because they won't get on the gravy train.
And that also
It's
leads
the public treasury, and that on both sides.
and
That's my view.
that also leads them to forget about corruption, what their government is doing. Because like you said, they're trying to get the contracts. They don't care what their government is doing wrong.
And all the parties is do it, but
Yes.
they all put money on the ground.
Yes.
All the parties.
All parties do that. You have to
All
know
the
what's
parties
about
do
that.
it.
All of us put money
Okay,
on the
all
ground.
them is do it.
Yes, everyone is doing it. Everyone
But I
does
say, if we get rid of some of the hypocrisy
it. We won't
in our own personal life,
we will need to.
our country will be much better. Just get rid of half of it, and our country will be much better.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
taking my call.
No problem. Just one thing I'd like to add on. Thank you for calling. I just add something more. When the caller talked about a very intelligent young man just now. I like to have conversation with people like that. He talked about the swearing and about the king and the queen and stuff like that. The only thing I'm going to add on that is this. I think that when you swear to a king or a queen, even though the caller said that, it's just a formality, I agree with him. But I think that when you read the Bible tells you when you take an oath, that you should not what? Bow down to no man. But I know you have to give account to Caesar, because Christ said that, give unto Caesar what is due unto Caesar. But I think that when we give an oath, you don't give your oath to the Bahamas. So they might not be controlling the Bahamas like here personally, but their laws, their regulation, and we still pay taxes to them. And I think that when we swear to them, we take on a demonic spirit, because you were swearing to a king. You were swearing to a king who deal with oppression, slavery, help abolishers as well, who were involved in selling drugs. In fact, England was the biggest drug country in the world. Go back to the opium days, and we our leaders, everyone swear to them. So they might not be interfering directly in the country's affairs when it comes to how we govern, but they still have an impact on how we dress. If you look at those in Parliament, we saw that's still British. They still wear the British white hair. They ain't changed that yet. We have the House Speaker who dresses the same way. We have lawyers who go to court and Supreme Court. They don't go in court unless they're properly dressed with the British attire. So the only thing I'm saying is that it goes beyond as human. It goes like spiritual, I think that when you give your word to, when they swear, I believe you give away your soul. That's all I say. I don't want to be right. And that could cause us to be in the position we're in now, not knowingly, because the Father tells us to bow and all worship, and we worship because they worship the King. They worship the deceased queen when she was living, not knowingly. When you give this, and they say the tongue, and what they say about the tongue has the power of life and death. So swearing is a very serious thing. We might not take it seriously, we might not understand it, but swearing is a very serious thing. We can take this next call. Go ahead, caller. You're on Inside in the City.
Hello?
Yeah, good night to you, Mom.
I want to talk about the guy that got arrested.
Go ahead, madam.
I know that nobody's wondering how is it. Before I even ask a question, let me ask you, where did that plane start off? In the Bahamas or in the United States?
The Bahamas.
In the Bahamas. Where was he planning to go?
I think it's a Freeport or Abaco.
Okay. Now, I have been on several planes to those same places, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So how did he get in the United States with all the apparatus that you would need if there's an accident that's supposed to occur or did occur?
Well, I only can say this. I think I'm going to say this to answer your question. I believe that the pilot who was driving, I believe he's a part of the DA, and they let the plane drift off in that particular area so that they could apprehend this gentleman.
Okay, good. So the Bahamas is a sovereign government, right? Are we not independent?
Yes.
Do we not take care of our own?
Yes, we do.
So how is it that nobody's talking about that and nobody's trying to investigate the United States to find out how this individual got from the Bahamas waters into the United States waters? That's what they should be investigating. Not if this man is a criminal or not.
That's
yes,
right.
He may be a criminal, he may not. But what we have to worry about, because the Bahamian, our security,
our sovereignty,
what's going to happen to us
our sovereignty
later on. How is it that nobody's talking? And I haven't heard it, And I was trying to figure out when they're going to start investigating.
Good question.
The Bahamian government is going to investigate how in the hell that man got in the United States and all apparatus to make sure that nobody died.
It gives one.
That's what they're supposed to be investigating.
It gives one the question. It makes you think why no one died, and then it make yes.
So that's what, and I haven't heard anything. I'm trying to figure out if I'm the only person. I know I'm not stupid. I'm not a fool.
I think the same thing as you, Mom.
So I'm trying to figure out how is it that the Bahamian government, they want to talk about, they want to worry about what's happening with that man. They should demand that man return home
Be released because
to
he's
be investigated.
Yes.
Not the United States
Protect our
government
sovereignty.
investigate him.
Protect our
We're
sovereignty.
supposed to investigate him. He's supposed to return home,
Because
and
he's
we're
a
supposed to
Bahamian.
investigate the United States government to find out how in the world he got there. In fact, we're supposed to bring that pilot home and arrest that pilot or do whatever it needs to be done to that pilot to find out how in the world he got there. Because I've been to those same places, and I have.
You ain't up there.
And I never got in the United States. I went to Freeport, went to Abaco, whatever, and I came wherever I wanted to go into Nassau.
They say 80 miles off it, 80 or 70
So
miles
it's something
off
odd about that. And I don't hear nobody talking about it. It's like, what are we? We're so afraid of the United States. We just acting like little children. I mean, we doing just what they say to do. They're not going to respect us. I don't care who it is. They're not going to respect us.
Protect our sovereignty. Yes, ma'am. I agree with you.
And I think there's something wrong with that. We are asking the wrong questions.
Yes. Good point you made tonight.
We asking the wrong questions. And I don't know if I'm the only person because I've never heard anybody talk about it. But I know we're asking the wrong questions.
You're talking about sovereignty. You're talking about protecting our sovereignty. How is
That's right.
Yes.
So how come nobody's talking about that? They're just talking about this man who in 100 years from now, he's going to be insignificant. You know it's going to be significant?
Our sovereignty.
The fact that we didn't protect ourselves.
Sovereignty, yes.
That's what's going to be significant.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow, very intelligent. That was a good answer. She talked about the sovereignty. See, other people analyze things. She said she talked about the plane, and I just want to know if fast to complain. You're not the only one who thinking like that. But when you come to the sovereignty, you was the only one who thinking about the sovereignty. You analyze and you said, what about our sovereignty? You look at him as a Bahamian, and he drifted in U.S. water. Why is no one talking about how he getting U.S. water and demanding them come back to the Bahamas? And that's true because anywhere Americans go around the world, and you hold them in custody, they come in for you. You know, only very few places in the world that you could be before the U.S. come to get you. They try every avenue to get their American citizens back in their country. Don't care where they are in the world, they'll try their best to get their citizens back home. And that's how America runs. So the lady is quite correct in what she's talking about. Our sovereignty, our sovereignty is being damaged from a few individuals who are doing illegal activity, but she's looking out for our sovereignty. You understand? Our sovereignty. She's talking like how 90, had a case pending in the Supreme Court, all right? And he had a preceding matters, and he was extradited out of the country. So she's talking about his sovereignty as well. She's talking about us. She's trying to protect us, so I got to give a thumbs up. You can take the next call. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, you say Scrooge.
Hey, everything blessed. Good night to you.
Good, very good. My question is, or my point is, did America came for that guy in the Bahamas?
Mm-hmm.
Did they come for him in the Bahamas? I'm asking you, did he get picked up in the Bahamas? Did America come with their choppers and pick that boy up and take him to America for charges?
I can't say they say he drifted in the American waters.
But my brother, did America come on their helicopters and grab them? What we learned, we all learned that the man say he get lost and they end up in Florida. They crash and America rescue them and find out and IDing them that one of them is a criminal. That ain't got nothing to do with our sovereignty, boy.
No, the woman
is our sovereignty.
No, she's just talking.
The persons who name get called and politicians caught up in that mess. That's when our sovereignty is challenged. Not over a criminal who get picked up because he get caught at the wrong place.
No, she has a point. She make a point, No,
I just give you an understanding.
Yeah. No, I mean, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
I don't fight against America because America get a criminal found in their waters, not in our waters. Okay? And then why we worrying about who this man connected with? She worrying about our sovereignty in America versus Bahamas. Why she don't worry about the government versus the people and how from they come into power from 2021, they been in scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal. And right up to the election day, every person in the plane was wearing what? PLP, paraphernalia. Why we don't talk about what's going on, how we could assume and speculate what was the money being
Everyone know.
the man has.
Everyone know where the money is. All parties is giving money out, man. All parties
No,
is
but that's
giving money.
illegal, bro.
Yeah, it's illegal. A lot of things is illegal.
Because they do it, it makes it right.
They show where the Constitution. This what it all come about now.
That's why you see me, Scrooge. I never was in no gang, because I never believe in doing wrong to people and think it's okay.
No, it ain't about that.
Never was into that.
Gang wasn't all about that, but
never into that. So bad boys, but they get dead, boy.
Gang wasn't all about that, man. Gangs was about different
go
stuff.
And carry themselves somewhere and go be bad somewhere. Go sell drugs somewhere. What we need to do is kill drugs. Stop letting these man them pursue drugs through our waters. Stop letting these man them sell coke in our country. Stop these things, bro. Because I don't sell drugs.
You don't need to, but other people will sell it.
Well, we need to stop them, bro, because I have a problem with them who sell it, bro.
Well, you get a problem with
last one from the big drug dealer down to the small drug dealer, bro. That's the Ram and Chill. Because they ain't making no sense.
No.
Look at a drug dealer, Scrooge.
What is
Look how they live in. Everyone who live around a drug dealer live worse than a drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
He's 30 neighbors on coke.
Hey, that might not be the drug dealer you're looking at. You're looking at the small man. What about the big man at the top who making millions? There and that. I want
to get locked up too.
You have a lot of big man that's million. You have a lot of. See, don't look at the small man. You're looking at the small man. What about the big man? What about the airport? What about the officers who running all that stuff out there? Who running millions, running our airports, running millions and millions of drugs through, reaching in the hands of these women.
them up too, Scrooge.
Yeah, so it's deep.
I will lock them up because the problem is, Scrooge.
Hey.
Until we stop letting politicians control our police, until we separate the powers and stop letting these street man them, we lack off the road, who ain't know nothing about national security, come in and could dictate to the law enforcement, Scrooge.
And what makes you
always have a problem?
And what makes you think law enforcement are fully trained themselves?
Well, if we could start once... Well,
look at it right now.
For how, that's important, because right now you see a lot of them is go on the job slim, and in 5-10 years, they fight as a rosy. But
my point exactly. They go to Batek and Sir, but when they go there, they change. They go to
I look so bad on the force for me when I stand up next to a police, big belly and thing. I feel shame, bro.
Yeah.
Because when I go foreign, them police is being shape, brother.
Yeah.
They don't look like our police. Our police don't have hard mode. One use the law to punch you around and things. But when you talk about combat and protection and serve and security, they can't ride with half us on this road. I'm Scrooge, because all of them ain't in shape, bro.
No, man, there's a lot of stuff going on. But anyway.
I mean, they need to get their act together.
I agree.
The country need to get this act together. I want this country to know I ain't down with corruption, bro. So from you doing it, for example, look at Sabaz. How long we been hearing rumors about the man past dealing with his business, dealing with unscrupulous activities? Ain't not one come out and say if the rumors is true or false. You know why he can't speak on that publicly? Because he's bitey tongue. He's bitey tongue. And any behemoth who sit there and act like as if that election or that choice was something to be proud of. I don't respect no man who had the TV way to the top. Scrooge.
That's you, my brother. I listen to you. That's your wife. That's what you said. All right. Thanks for calling. You did a good job. Yeah, everyone I said, he's talking with the boss, if anyone, blame the Prime Minister, blame former Prime Minister Perry Gladstone Christie. He was the one who gone to the Beeman people. Hey, listen again, see, you got to remember, he's the one who gone to the Beeman people. He said that if we put this gaming thing together, we call it the yes-no thing. He's asking about the gaming rights and blah, blah. If you say yes or you say no, that if the Beeman people say no to the gaming, blah, blah, blah. And he said it was just a test run. And you saw that he saw the income of what the number man is bringing in every year. And I think that's close to over $500 million or $100 million or $200 million they were bringing in every year. So, and he gone to the Beeman public, and he asked the Beeman public, go to the referendum, vote, and I respect your vote. What happened? You think he's going to deny when the government look at the income, right? When they look at how much people, the number of bosses them hire people and paying national insurance, even though it was illegal activity, but it was still open, right? And the police was there, right? The commissioner of police was there. The politicians were there, right? And they said gambling was illegal. How many years gambling was illegal? But you still saw people, Bahamian people, going in these places like McDonald's in Kentucky. I'm talking with pastors, I'm talking with police officers, I'm talking regular citizens, I'm talking mothers, pregnant mothers, single parent mothers, fathers were walking in these places like it's Dunkin' doing it, all right? And it was illegal. And when they asked, when the government asked the Bahamian people under the leadership of Perry Gladstone Christie, he went to the referendum. He know the income, what they bring to the table, and paying the national insurance for all the employees that the number hosts is Flowers and Adrian Fox and Sebastian and etc. They know that. What they did. When the people going to vote no against the gambling, Mr. Christie said, hell no. Hey? He said, yes. And he gave them the license, right? Remember that? Okay. The police would raid once in a while. Why the police ain't raid every day? If you have a number shop that is illegal, goes on 365 days of the year, the police only going to raid these places once or twice a year. Why they ain't raiding every year? Huh? Why they ain't raiding every year? If this is illegal, because we allowed it. Okay? Both governments. And us as a society. We can take this last call. Go ahead, caller. Caller, you there? So, yeah. So I just want to run some. So, a lot of people has a lot to say. The lady, she talked about, and the caller, he's jumping on the lady. I understand. But what she's talking about sovereignty, she is talking about us as a Bahamian, how he drifted the Bahamian waters. He was apprehended. He's wanted by the U.S., but still he's a Bahamian citizen. He should be contacted. He was supposed to, interact with the Bahamian government. He's supposed to return to us, and then asked to be extradited to the States. That's what the lady's talking. She's talking about our sovereignty, when we are being violated on what we are going to do and how we're going to respond, She didn't really mean nothing ordinary. She just was thinking differently. And she made a valid point. We get next one? All right. Go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brown.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I heard the young lady, and what she's saying makes good sense. I mean, she asked a very pertinent question. It is always about the sovereignty of the Bahamas.
Yes.
It's always been that way.
Yes.
And so she was asking the right question.
Yes.
She had heard very little that was said about in terms of the sovereignty of the Bahamas, because the fact of the matter is the aircraft lived out of the Bahamas territory and went apparently about the United States when this crash happened, which was close to international waters.
Yes.
So as a result of that, we were apprehended.
Yes.
But we know who those people are.
Yes.
And so an investigation should have been launched here in the Bahamas.
That's
with
right.
respect to that matter.
That's right.
We shouldn't be asking
the U.S. Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, sir.
You understand what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
saying?
With all this intelligence, these police could go around and investigate, lock people on the streets. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Investigation should have been launched
Yes.
as a result of that.
Yes.
Within the Bahamas.
Yes.
And so maybe the United States might have want to ask us about certain things.
Yes.
Right? And we would have been privy to give them certain information as opposed to
Yes.
wondering who this politician is. Man, that's nonsense.
That's right. What happened to our police?
Complete nonsense.
What happened to our police? That's right, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's what I was saying. Go ahead, sir.
A proper investigation should have been launched into the matter, and wherever we find any form of corruption, let heads roll. But what has happened as a result of that is that our sovereignty, the entire Bahamas, now have a black eye
Yes.
because of that incident.
Yes.
And so that's something I said earlier on Guardian Radio, that after the Prime Minister make his communication on Wednesday, he must say to the Bahamian people what action is being taken with regard to Bahamian sovereignty.
Yes.
We just can't allow that to happen.
Yes. Yes, sir. I agree. We supposed to have the information.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you very much. And you solidified what I was saying all along. Because this gentleman who just called us now, he's trying to say, what happened to our investigation team over here? That happened. U.S. have their information. They're doing the information on our airports here, right? They locking up police officers on our airport, right? Who are involved in illegality. Where's our information? Where's our information channel? Where's our law enforcement supposed to know that this officer here is doing something illegal on that Farming Island airport or by the Nassau International Airport? Where's our investigation team? Because we're turning a black eye. That's when the caller stated that, both the PLP and both the FNM were turning a black eye he is asking response on, he probably talking about Michael Pintard, you know, the leader of the opposition. This is one of the reasons they probably lose the election, because we are saying that, you know, a cabinet minister, a former cabinet minister, who was the former minister of national security, his boat that he has a connection to with one of his partners was arrested in the U.S. with kilos of drugs. And Michael Pintard did nothing to really address it, you know. And on the other side, we have the same scandal of this particular individual with our police officer. So when he did not respond to Marvin Dames itself, they lose traction because people say they're covering up something. You know, he ain't speaking on it. Everyone's saying Marvin Dames have something to do with the drugs because, you know, they're saying that it's his boat. You know, he don't have to be, you know, directly involved. You know, it could be his boat. Like he's saying it could be his boat, and he just letting the guy, the boat, business partners and the guy decide to run drugs to the States. But they're saying that's a person who was like a Marvin Dames. He should at least do a background check on this individual. There should be some type of information, you know, all these boats going out from these specific location. And these persons were also known to the U.S. police. So where's our police? How come the U.S. know all this in America, right? And we here in the country and our own law enforcement agencies don't have no type of information until the U.S. comes and apprehend our local law enforcement. That's crazy. That's crazy. You know? You understand? So a lot of valid points. And the caller is completely correct. The lady's correct, you know? And, you know, what we need to do, stop doing too is, you know, we like to jump on people when people make comments. Now, some people make stupid comments and we want to jump on them as behemoths. We need to stop that too, man. Someone give a comment, you don't need to respond to that particular person comment if that's their comment. If it ain't nothing, you know, we don't need the this and that. No, man, because the same thing you could say, someone gonna call and say the same thing about you, you know. But let's try be more behemoth, you know. And I think that both parties protect their own and cause a distaste in the voters turnout. And I say this again, I think the Free National Movement don't have a connect with the inner city community because they don't have no basis. They don't put their campaign engine on the ground. And, you know, they're not on the ground like other progressive little parties on the ground. They need to set up small campaign offices around national province, start campaigning. You know, I say they're going to be successful because I just reading this. They say, Over the Hill constituency in New Providence had the lowest voter turnout in the May 12th general election, dipping into the 50% range, while several Family Island constituencies recorded voter turnout in the high 70s. None of the 41 constituencies had a voter turnout that exceeded 77%. In New Providence, voter turnout was highest in Kalani at 74%. This has increased over the 69% voter turnout in the constituency in 2021. In 2026, 1,792 registered Kalani voters did not vote. 1,792 registered Kalani voters did not vote. Overall, voter turnout last week was 67% compared to 65% in 2021. In an election held at the COVID-19 pandemic was in range. You know, in the May 12, 2026 election, 69,021 registered voters did not vote. 61. Wow, I said 80. I was close. Like going up 10 more thousand. Still could be more than that. That's 33 turnout. Yes, 69,000. So that's like 70,000 people registered did not vote because people just don't believe in it. Okay. Yeah. So that's basically it. A lot of people, you know, calling the show, they made some good comments, you know, but everyone made some good good topics to talk about today. But at least we all on the same page, you know. And I agree with that gentleman who called when he talked about what about our officers? All the stuff going on in our departments, and now we're starting to investigate. I see at Inland Revenue, they did an outstanding job of checking the checks and balances when it comes to the custom officer who is alleged charged just recently, you know. And when listening to the report, it stated that she was transferred from one particular location because she was doing the same similar thing. And in this instance, when she was being investigated from my Inland Revenue, they see some discrepancy because money was going straight to her check. You know how bold that is? To be, as a custom officer, head custom officer, you're allowing cars and trucks, and so you're making a lot of money, you know. And what you're doing now, instead of you doing your job as a custom officer, I allege you facilitating corruption, you know? And how long that has been going on. And the point I'm trying to make is, when I listened to the transfer, she was given a warning from her last place where she was stationed. And in the report, they said they did give her a warning to stop what she was doing because they see some illegal, something wrong in what she was doing in the department. So because she was tied to a particular political party, she was moved to a different location. And she got worse. You understand? Now she got investigated by Inland Revenue, and now she is before the courts. But they said that she asked someone to help her from a particular party, and they said, no, we got to wash our hands off that. And that's what's been happening all around the town. See, these parties have members in different government departments because they're PLP or they're F&M. They feel that since they know the prime minister or they know the opposition leader, or when their opposition became prime minister, that gives them leeway to have a calling card, you know, to say, hey, man, look here, I know the prime minister, I know someone in government, and ain't nothing going to happen to them. And that's what happened in our country, you know. We are destroying ourselves in this country with our own corruption. And we ain't even seeing it. Man, we in serious trouble in this country, you know. You see every department, even the fishing industry, we so corrupt that the license we give out to the Dominican, I want Bahamian females selling out our country's birthright. Now, for those who ain't married for love, now there's people who come from the Dominican Republic and they meet a Bahamian and they get married. Now, I don't know if that's really what they want to get married, or they married because they know that the Bahamas has a 700 keys, and we have abundance of fisheries that values in the billion, and they know it. So they have to pass some type of credentials to be able to come here and live and fish, because they don't want to get catch from our Defense Force officers, right? So what they do? They look for a Bahamian woman who sells us out, right? Who marries for money, right? And then in turn, they get this marriage, and they go set up with the deplete. So corrupting all across the board for us, you know? All across the board for us. And you see, it's deleting our fishing industry. I do this corruption. Look here, when this finished with us, where do you benefit from this? It's gonna, when you benefit now, right? Guess what's gonna happen? You might be benefiting now. Everything you do now, one day will come back right round to haunt you. You know? Where you ain't have no control over it. Where it get out of hand, you did it, but it's so out of hand that when your children come up now, they can feel it for what you do when you settle the country. And I like to say this too. A lot of people talk about Haitian nationals in the country, right? But do you know that the majority of the Bahamian people who own these apartments and own these houses, they rent out to Haitian nationals who come illegally in the country? But yet still they complaining about Haitian nationals coming in the country. But do you know that most Bahamian who own these houses actually rent to them? You know what they rent to them? Haitians are the most reliable set of people when it comes to paying rent. Okay? They're not going to be late with their rent. They're going to be reliable. So that's why a lot of Bahamians out there, even though they're talking about how we have illegal immigrants come in the country, right? They still rent them their houses and apartments because they know that come Saturday or Sunday and our rent's supposed to be paid, then people can pool together and they're going to have the money ready for Sunday. Not Monday, Sunday. They never late, but they reliable. But yet still we be talking about immigration. See, we see, like I say, we be pointing the finger. I mean, we be talking about this and that. Why we not pointing the finger at ourselves? You know? So anyway, I just say that to say, you know, we see things what we want to see, eh? But the things we need to see, we don't want to talk about because why? We are aiding to our destruction in the country. All right, so I'm Valentino Brown, a.k.a. Scoochie or Scrooge, host of the talk show Inside the NNC that premieres every Friday at 6:30 to 8 p.m. And we talk about numerous topics. I hope you enjoy the show. To all the callers, you guys did a wonderful job. Kareem Henschel, to the rest of the crew, to the lady, to the gentlemen who call in, you guys made some good sense. And I really like that one who called and said, where are our investigators? If the U.S. could be investigating all these things, we have all this intelligence. We have the Wayne Monroe, who was the Minister of National Security, and yet still he can never give us no information on exactly what's happening in our own country. But he can tell you exactly what happened to the guys who get catch around the corner with the guns or someone get shoot in that particular incident. But when it comes to these big matters, nothing. So I hope you enjoy the show. And please, those who are driving, drive safe. If you're out, make sure you have a wonderful time. And if you can avoid any altercation or why show, I would advise you to just walk away, you know. Don't pay it no mind. And just, you know, try live to see the next day, all right? So avoid conflict, okay? So good night to everyone, and hope you enjoyed the show and God is with you.
Charlie Brown say my show boy don't ever give in. 7 years of farming, watch the crops them coming. True they see a humble thing, the lion sleeping. But they ain't for no reason.